Hello and welcome. Today I'd like to show you how I created this card. I did this card, excuse me, for a blog hop for our team called Casing the Catty. And the theme this week was to case the colours of the Blackberry Beauty Designer Series paper, this one here on page 45 of our mini catalogue. And the colours are Polished Pink, Blackberry Bliss, Rich Razzleberry, Early Espresso, Cinnamon Cider and Gold. All of the colours in that beautiful paper. Now, if you know me, you will know that I am not a pink purple person. I haven't bought this paper. It's not my style. I love Early Espresso and Cinnamon Cider. I'm more of a neutrals girl. But that's the nature of a challenge, to try and do something new that's outside your comfort zone. And this was the card I came up with. Now, the motivation for this card was to use a new stamp set, which is coming next year, called Blessings of Home. It has these two beautiful images and lots of lovely greetings, which I have used before. But I have stamped this greeting onto shimmery white paper and watercoloured it, and then layered it onto the Blackberry Bliss, Rich Razzleberry, white and gold with the Cinnamon Cider and the Early Espresso little details there. So, you keen for me to show you how I created it? Now, somewhere around here I have a partially coloured. So here's my cardstock I've already prepared. Now this card is an extra special card, so I've made it larger. So this card is 14.5 centimetres by 14.5 centimetres square, which makes it 14 by 28. And it is also a twisted easel, so I've scored it in half at 14.5 centimetres, and then on the front panel scored it from the top diagonal to the bottom corner there in a diagonal, which creates a triangle. You don't actually have to score. You could do this, adapt this design for any size. So your basic card shape, it can be rectangular or square, and then your front panel, just fold it and burnish it so that you've got your twisted easel there. And then my next layer is Rich Razzleberry, in keeping with the colours of the challenge. And to stick that onto my card, the important thing to remember with any easel card or fancy fold like this is that you only put glue or adhesive on this section, because, now I'll just pop this onto my front, making sure there's a lovely little border all the way around. Okay, you don't want any glue on that part of the cardstock, because it'll show, because that's part of the easel. And I'll also put my Rich Razzleberry matte on the inside while I'm doing that assembly. Okay, so there's that one and that one. So as I said, Rich Razzleberry and Blackberry Bliss. Then my next layer is basic white. I find with colours that I'm not comfortable using, I need lots of white to calm them down. Okay, so that's going to be there and on the inside, but I won't stick them in until I've completed the other parts of my card. Now, this is the gold part of the card. I have used our metallic foils, or you can use gold foil, with another new product, the gingham embossing folder. See how that's come out beautifully there, that lovely checker design. So that goes onto the front of my card. I'll pop that one on. Onto the side here. And I've stamped a greeting here. Now that stamp set before has a What a Beautiful Birthday for Love, but this card I'm making for someone specific, and so I'm going to use the Wishing You a Wonderful Birthday from the Elegantly Said stamp set. Oh, it's not in the box because I've got it somewhere else. Here you go. Sorry about that. I'm going to stamp that in the Blackberry Bliss up the top of my card, making sure I leave enough room for my floral design there. So in the top corner up here, wishing you a wonderful birthday. Okay, that's that bit done. Stamp, clean my stamp. Okay, pop them over there. Okay, so then that, and you can see on my card here, when I'd finished my card, I actually did this after I was finished. I thought it looked a little bit plain, so my flower is going to go here with the embellishment. I thought it looked a little bit plain. So what I did, and I'll do it this time before I start everything else, is just drew a bit of a wobbly freehand line from the edge of my gold, and my marker is actually running out a little, which works perfectly for my line here. Okay, so there's that one, and then I need one for my inside panel as well while I'm doing that. So it's just basically trailing along the edge. Do a couple of little divots. Here we go. Okay, so that's my edge. It's not very difficult. Probably the hardest thing about doing something like this is having the courage to do it, really, because it's a bit daunting to actually do something by freehand. But it looks quite marvellous, I think. So there you go. So I've finished. I can actually stick both of these on because the rest of my card will be then about the flowers and the die cutting. Okay. So I'll pop this one in here, leaving my little tiny border. So I said before that my card is 14.5 by 14.5 centimeters. My next layer down is 14 centimeters by 14, and the next one is 13.5 by 13.5. The same with the front. And then my piece of gold foil is 13 centimeters by 2.5 inches, I believe. Flitting from one measurement to another. Okay, so there's our basic card, ready for embellishment with the flowers. So this is the bit that I wanted to show you. I have partially coloured my flowers in using, as I said, shimmery white cardstock. I don't need that. Shimmery white cardstock and my water painter and ink. Now I've done most of the flowers inside. I'm just about to do the leaves. So what I've done, I've just used a clean block and put my ink and cinnamon cider onto the edge of my block. Just pressed it on like that. So that way I'm not diluting my ink pad at all with the water from my water painter. And when lots of people need to use it all at the same time, they can all have some of the ink. So just add my water there, and I'll start I'm actually, if you know me, I'm a person who goes for what I would call artistic, which means that I'm not really into precision. I want this to look like an artwork, not to look like a professional has done it. I want people to know that this is a handmade card, made from the heart. Okay, so there we go. There's those ones done. Now the more you dilute, the more you add water, the lighter the colour will be, as with any colouring. Pop this there. Where else have I got? I'm adding, did I tell you I used the Saddle Brown Stays On ink to stamp my image, which is a waterproof ink, perfect for watercolouring. If you were going to colour these flowers with this image with blends, you would have to use a water-based ink. but the Stays On is a solvent-based ink, so it works perfectly with water and doesn't bleed. And also, because it's almost identical to the cinnamon cider colour, it really looks, the line work disappears and becomes more subtle and a bit more realistic. Okay, so I've done my first layer. Now you can go back with, can you see there? So I'm using the stronger ink to create shade. Okay, and just putting that in the corner where I think the shadows would be. Just a tiny bit there, tiny bit there. All right. Tiny bit in at the very inside of each of the leaves. Here we go. And these ones are the ones I did before. Just add a little bit here under the shadows. And on my other card, you may actually notice, I also put a little bit of the early espresso right on the very inside, which is actually quite dark. But I'll start by just using my early espresso. Early espresso is the closest colour to black, and I often use it instead of black, just because it's not quite that midnight inky tone, but it's nice and dark. But I'm just going to use it on the inside pieces here where there's little bits of white. So this will sort of finish off the image a bit more. Anywhere else in here. So that's right inside the image. And another one inside there. So that, here we go, there's another. And see how it's bled there with my watercolour being just recently adding water to that image. There we go. A little bit more there and there. Just finishes off, actually there's probably some on my little piece that I've cut. This is the same image that I've cut out, and I'm using this for the inside of my card. I had a lovely day just playing and watercolouring. A friend and I were crafting together, and this is what I did while she made cards. We just had a lovely time just chatting. Here we go. So that's that one complete. Pop that aside. Now, I'm going to dilute my early espresso a bit more to add to just the ends of my flowers. So you can see it's still very dark. Okay, just squeeze my brush here and add a bit more water there to dilute that a little bit and blend it a little bit. A bit more water. Okay, tiny bit more for the ones up the top here. A bit more, and a bit there, bit there, bit there. Now, I've already die cut this image using the flowers from Home Dyes. I think that'll do. I'll be able to just pop that, wash that in my chamois in a minute. I'll put my paper out of the way. So these flowers were cut out with the flowers of Home Dyes there, and also all of my bits and pieces to make it a bit more, I don't know, a bit more interesting, were cut using the same dyes. There's 11 pieces of dyes. Some of them feature, there's 2 for the 2 flower images in the stamp set here. So these 2 flowers have outlines to cut them out, and then there are 9 other pieces of floral garlands and swags, and also leafy images, which I think are going to be absolutely indispensable in my crafting world. Okay, So there's my flowers to go on there. I'm going to attach them with Stampin' Dimensionals all the way around the edges. My cardstock has warped a little through having so much water put on them. So I'll do plenty so that it's one in the middle. You can see there on the back of my card there, I've actually used a little bit of Stamping Blend on that one to give it a bit more definition because I added too much water and it bled. So when it was dry, I added my Stamping Blend over the top. The magic of the alcohol marker working over the top. Okay, so there we are. There's the flowers. Okay, and there's something I've smudged. I'm going to have to stick one of these guys underneath to cover up that smudge. Alright, now for these guys, I have so much stuff here I need to move. How about I just put this one on the inside of my card so that I don't lose that. Here we are. Alright, and pop that on the corner down there. There we go. Okay, so that's that one done out of the way. Now, these guys need to all be probably glued on, which is my least favourite thing in the whole world because I don't like things that are sticky. I don't like it on my fingers, but what I'm going to do is put a big blob of it there on my silicone mat and then just run that in underneath and tuck, and then I'll come back later on with mini glue dots and stick the bits that are hanging out. Okay, so stick that underneath there. Poke that in there. Rightio. I'm not sure whether I cut out too many of these things, but I think they're so pretty. I'm going to put as many on as I like. There we go. Over this side here. Stick that underneath. Another one. Down here. Yeah. This one. Is that going to fit underneath there? There we go. I'll come back with a mini glue dot for that one later. Let's have a look. There we are. Do I need any more? Let's put this little guy over here. What do you think? I think I'll put my flowers at a different angle now. Let's have a look. You know what I forgot is the ribbon, but I don't think it needs it, to be honest. So some green, it's not greenery, is it? Leafery underneath there, and a little bit underneath here. There we go. And I've ended up with 2 extra pieces. Okay, as I said before, I'm going to come in now with some mini glue dots and just pop them underneath those garlands, just in strategic places. Cover them up. So that they don't flick. Here we are. another one over this side. There we go. Another one over this side. That one doesn't feel like it's gluing very well underneath there. Beat it into submission. Have I got one there? Yes. One on this one. There we are. Down here. There we go. And the last one over there. I love this take your pick tool. Works out. There we go. That's that bit. And then again with the take your pick tool, I'm going to add some gold, gems and iridescent rhinestones. Look at these. Aren't they beautiful? Pop them all over my card. That one there and a couple up the top. There and there. Is that enough of the gold ones? Perhaps. And then some iridescent ones. These ones are beautiful. They just pick up the light and reflect it back so nicely. Up there. Down there. A large one. Large one. There you go. Oh, and some for the inside as well. There we go. And some iridescent ones. There we go. Our card is complete. Look at that. 2 beautiful cards. This one has a bow. This one doesn't. But I think they both look pretty nice. I hope you've enjoyed that. Bye bye now.